Hey everyone, Gary here from Echidna Sewing, and today I'm going to show you how to place the centering rulers on the Dime Snap Hoop Monster magnetic hoops. So the Dime Snap Hoop Monster series are incredibly popular magnetic hoops to suit pretty much all the different brands on the market. If you have a domestic embroidery machine or even one of the Brother PR series multi-needle machines, you can get these hoops. And they've been really popular overseas for many years, and now finally they're all here in Australia with Echidna Sewing. And what I've got here is the 5x7 or the 130x180 hoop for the Brother series machines, and I'm going to use this one to show you how to correctly place the centering rulers on the frames themselves. But first thing we'll do is open this up and have a look at what comes with the set. So let's take a look. The unit comes with a bit of paper, the packaging, so not too much plastic, which is great. The hoop itself, we've also got some little target stickers, placement stickers, but most importantly, what we're going to talk about today is the centering rulers that go on the actual frame itself. And you don't need to put these on, but it does help in a sense of lining up designs, etc. And pretty simple process, but you do need to do it correctly because it's not just a matter of putting them dead center on the hoop. So we're going to show you that in a moment. And also some other information, some QR codes to scan the various information that you can get from the Dime website, which is fantastic. So that's what comes in the box. What I'm going to need to do now is set up a machine to show you how we use a simple embroidery design or a template design that we've created and is available on our website, and we'll show you how to use that to actually get the correct placement of the stickers on the frame. So give me a moment, we'll get a machine set up. First thing I might discuss is just how the Dime hoop is constructed and explain what this bit of core fluid or plastic is in the middle. So when you receive these hoops, that plastic is to keep the magnetic ring or the top piece, which is basically houses the magnets. So there's a whole series of very, very powerful magnets inside that mechanism there. That bit of core fluid just serves to separate them when the hoop's in storage. So we don't use that when we're embroidering, but we do store the hoop with that between the base and the actual magnetic frame itself. You'll also notice that the bottom part is actually steel and it has a little sort of felt glides underneath. That protects your machine, so when that's sliding over the machine, it's not going to scratch it up and it gives it a nice, good, smooth surface to work on. The big thing is that this part here, the part that attaches or slides into the machine, that's called the key of the hoop, and the key on here is exactly the same as the key, for instance, on the 5x7 or the 130x180 standard Brother hoop. So this does, that tells the machine what hoop is on the machine. So this key is the same as that key, and so the machine does know that you're using that size hoop, which is very important. Now, the reason we're going to show you how to attach these stickers correctly is because you can't just take one of the centering rulers and simply say, all right, well, there's my 0, that needs to be the center of the hoop. Let me just bring this bit over. That needs to be the center of the hoop, because rarely are hoops actually perfectly symmetrical, and that's because of the design of embroidery machines. So often the actual center of the design is slightly offset, usually to the left of the actual frame, and indeed that is the case on the Brother hoops. So I'm going to show you how to use a simple design that we've created to stitch out a template that will look a little bit like this. In fact, it'll look exactly like this, to work out where the actual center lines are on the hoop that you're going to apply the stickers to. Now, one of the reasons I've stitched this out on the Brother hoop is to highlight to you why it's different. You can probably see by the naked eye that that line there and that line there are different distances from the sides of the hoop. And this particular design, I've stitched it and told the machine to stitch it perfectly in the center of the embroidery area. So in other words, what we're saying is that the hoop, the size of the hoop is actually, of course, different to the embroidery area, but it is not symmetrical. In other words, the design is not perfectly centered within the physicality of the hoop, and that's perfectly normal. The distance from this the edge of this design to the edge of the hoop is in fact about 22 millimeters, and on this side it's about 17. So, and you can visually see the difference there, that it is actually not perfectly centered within the confines of the hoop. Now, knowing that means that when we are placing the positioning or the centering ruler on the dime hoop, it's important that we do find the correct center. The verticals will be quite easy because that's usually perfectly centered, but the left and right position is going to be slightly different. Now I'm going to use a piece of stabilizer, and I'm going to hoop that up, and we're going to stitch on that. And this is just cutaway, so that's probably the best one to use. But before I do, I want to point out something. If you do put the magnet, the magnetic top part on the base without that core flute or without any fabric or without any stabilizer, it will grab very, very quickly, and it is definitely a pinch hazard. But I want to show you that it's easy, and I'm going to do it just because I'm doing this. You don't need to do it, but I'm going to show you how that magnet can be positioned pretty much anywhere on that base. But when we're lining it up, we have to make sure that the magnet is perfectly on the base. You can see there the magnet is not, or the magnetic ring is not hanging over the base at all. It's perfectly positioned. And that'll make sense as we put the stabilizer in, and you'll see, I'm going to just slide that off a little bit. And if you do this, it does take a bit of getting off, so just be mindful of that. You just need to pull that magnet up and make sure you don't get your fingers caught. But right now I'm going to put this stabilizer down, and I want to make sure that the magnetic ring is perfectly positioned on the metal base. And I'm just going to basically find a position there. And you'll see here, it's not correct at the moment. My top ring is too low. If I turn it up this end, you'll see that there's my magnetic ring is now too low there as well. So I found the best way to position that is just to stand the hoop up and push the metal base down so as it's perfectly lined up. And I also do the same thing on the side. So now my magnet is perfectly positioned on the metal base. It's exactly lined up where I want it. Now that we've done that, I'm going to put the hoop into the machine. I've got my bobbin threaded, slide it on the normal way, push it down, and now we're ready to load the little centering design that is going to make it really easy to get that perfect position. Okay, so we're going to load the design now that we've got on my USB stick that's plugged into the machine. So I'll just go to embroidery, I'll go to my USB option. Now I'm using the 5x7 or the 130 by 180 hoop, so I just need to choose the file with that name, and that's it there. And go set, and go to embroidery. Now once I'm in embroidery mode, I do want to make sure that the design is perfectly centered within the embroidery area, and almost always that will be the case when you bring the design into your machine. But if you're not sure, just go to your layout button and go to move and just hit the center button. And as long as that's, and that's on this machine. Obviously your machine may be different, you may have a different brand, in which case you just got to follow the instructions for centering your design and making sure it is going to be perfectly centered in the hoop. But this one is, so I can click OK to that, and all I need to do now is to stitch this design out. Alright, I'm going to just simply put the foot down now, and we're ready to go. Stitch this design out. Just make sure that your stabilizer is hooped correctly and there's no bubbles or wrinkles in it, and you are using cutaway. If you use tearaway to do this, it might just dig a hole in the tearaway, so cutaway is a better option. You could use a bit of fabric if you want to, but a bit pointless, you're not going to ever use it again. So just hit the go button and we'll stitch that out. So there you go, that's now stitched out, and I'm going to take the hoop out now. We're going to show you a couple of things to take note with, and we just lift that out. Just carefully take the hoop out. You don't want to move the magnetic component at all. But just like the brother hoop, the standard hoop that came with the machine, you'll see that the distance from the left-hand side to the edge of the hoop is different to the right-hand side, and that's perfectly normal. That's what I expected. The other thing, the reason I've done this with a full box around here is that It's possible that if you didn't have the hoop ring on correctly and perfectly lined up, it's possible that, which is indeed possible to do, that you'd then notice that this line would not be perfectly parallel with the edge of the hoop. So if you do see after stitching this design out that they're not parallel, then you probably need to do it again because your hoop ring was not positioned correctly. The upper hoop ring was not positioned correctly. And but in this case it is. It's perfectly parallel with the edges. And I now have my exact center of the embroidery area, which is indeed right there. And I've got some vertical and horizontal lines there. So next thing I'm going to do is grab a pen and I'm going to extend those lines all the way to the edge of the hoop. So I've got just a marking pen and I now want to extend these lines. So I just get my perfect extension there. So I'm going to go, hopefully you'll see that on camera. That one's extended and we're going to extend this one. And I'm just going to quickly extend the other two sides as well. There we go. So I now know exactly where my 0 points on my ruler guides need to go. So there, and there. And now it is just simply a case of taking the rulers that I've got. And you'll notice that the centering rulers are quite long because it's the same label that's used for all the different hoops. So if you happen to have one of the very, very big hoops, you'll need it possibly that long. Otherwise, you're just going to be cutting a piece off on this. So hopefully our camera will pick this up. I might start with we'll start with the top up here. And there's my 0 point. So I really just want to make sure I position my 0 point directly above the extended line that I've got there. And that will not be the center of the green ring. So just remember that it won't be perfectly centered on the ring, but it is centered with the embroidery area of the hoop. And all I need to do, in fact, I can of course cut down this label, and I will grab my scissors and cut down the label to the size that I want it before I stick it down. So let me grab some scissors. Okay, so I just need to determine where I'm going to cut that, and quite frankly what I would be doing is cutting just at that 0 or that circle point there. So I'm going to cut down that point there. So we'll just cut there and check my other side, which will be that point there. You can make it shorter if you wish, it's entirely up to you. Take off the label. There will be a little cut somewhere, hopefully, that I can find. There it goes. And this is where you want to get it pretty much right. I'll try and stay out of the camera's view so I can see I'm perfectly above that. I can see that is exactly where I need it. And there's my top ruler now done. And all I've got to do is now repeat it for the other sides, doing exactly the same process. So there we go. All done. Our centering rulers are in place and exactly giving me the perfect center of the frame. It's always important to remember when you're using these frames that you do need to make sure, if you're using the rulers to center your design, you do need to make sure that the upper ring, the magnetic ring, is exactly square with the base. And you can see that by looking down the side of the ruler. You can also feel it, like I can feel that that's exactly where it should be. So absolutely fantastic hoops. They really do make hooping anything a whole lot easier, and the guide rulers or the centering rulers will also help you with your design placement. So I hope that video explains it all. Just a reminder that when you're taking these hoops off, you do have a little sort of lip under here that you can get your finger under, or some other tool to lift it. Once you lift that off, do make sure when you're storing the hoop that you put the core flute divider back in there, and that will make it easier to get the frame off next time you're going to be using it. So that's it. That's how you put your rulers on. That's the dime frames. Hope that video helps. Happy embroidering. Cheers.